What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to talk about UFC 266 and the 3 headline fights. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, UFC 266 is upon us, and it feels like a long time since we've been able to cover the UFC. And not a lot of major fights, major cards really on the docket. And I think Dana White has figured out that it's time to get back to what he does best in creating absolute stud, star-packed cards that we can just throw our money at. And taking a look at UFC 266, this is going to be in Las Vegas, and it is going to be a show for the ages, let me tell you. And listen, I want to talk about all 3 of these fights, but we're obviously going to start off with the biggest news here. Nick Diaz is making his UFC return, and it's against Robbie Lawler. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this fight and what we should expect to see?
Yeah, so both these fighters previously fought in 2004 when they had an absolutely fantastic fight. It didn't last long, but it packed a punch the entire way. Nick Diaz getting the better of Robbie Lawler, handing him a massive loss in a very pivotal moment. Robbie Lawler ended up going on to be the champion, but then subsequently lost his title. Now these two are towards the end of their career. Nick Diaz making his return. These two are going to have a battle just like they did back in 2004. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a slobber knocker. It's going to be one of the best fights we've seen all year long. I think that Nick Diaz is been waiting for this moment. He's ready to capitalize on this return, and who else better to do it with than Robbie Lawler?
I mean, you said it best. Nick Diaz has been long awaiting his return to the UFC, and obviously the timing is nothing more than spectacular, because you take a look at where the Nevada State Athletic Commission is coming from, and they just overturned their own ruling that now allows fighters, combat fighters, to test positive for marijuana. So they're allowed to use marijuana in any way, shape, and form. And this is what Nick Diaz used as his propelling movement to get back into the UFC. And I think Dana White was more than happy to oblige, giving him a Robbie Lawler fight on this main card. But Nick Diaz has not been in the UFC for the last 5 years, and it is one of those things where, you know, we talk about ring rust with some of these other guys. There's going to be ring rust. I don't doubt it. But Nick Diaz is one of the toughest and most Nick Diaz is one of the toughest and most aggressive fighters that I know, and I know he's going to be able to put on a show even without being in the octagon for that long. So I'm expecting an absolute brawl, a bloodbath, like you said, Nick. And I just want to take a look at the tail of the tape. You know, these guys, they really show the best when you put them together. Nick Diaz comes into this fight with a professional record of 26-10. He stands at 6'1". He's 185 pounds, 76-inch reach, and a 40-inch leg reach. Robbie Lawler, the number 15th ranked welterweight in the division, at 28-14, he stands 5'11", 170 pounds, 74-inch reach, and 39-inch reach. So Nick Diaz obviously has the height advantage. Robbie Lawler a little thinner, but he's been in the octagon more often. So Nick, what do you see from this fight?
I'm going to expect this to be an all-out brawl. I expect that even though Nick Diaz is one of the better jiu-jitsu fighters in the UFC, he doesn't use that skill set. That is mainly just to get him rolling around on the ground during practice, get him loosened up. He loves to train that way, but when it comes to fight time, he's all about brawling. It's a street fight out there for him. He's ready to get down and dirty. He's ready to stand toe-to-toe in the center of the octagon and just throw haymakers all fight long until somebody falls down. And that's exactly what we're going to get. He's not making his return just to be a boring fighter. We saw Nate Diaz make his return a couple months ago. His fight wasn't boring. He may have been a little bit sluggish in the beginning, but it definitely was not a boring fight. Now he's got an even better partner to fight with than Nate did. We got Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz. These two are willing to put their lives on the line, put their bodies on the line. They are going to give us everything we want and more. I'm going to expect this to not only live up to the hype, but I expect Robbie Lawler to now get a victory and for us to possibly see a trilogy after it's all said and done.
That would be absolutely incredible. And you know what? Las Vegas is with you because Robbie Lawler comes into this bout as a minus 120 favorite with Nick Diaz being a plus 100 underdog. Very, very slim odds. It is almost a toss-up at this point, but Las Vegas is favoring your decision as well. All right, let's move on to the next fight that we have on this main card. That would be women's flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko taking on number 3 ranked Lauren Murphy. Nick, what can you tell us about this fight?
Yeah, so I mean, Lauren Murphy has done a great job so far. She's on a fantastic win streak, and she's totally deserving of being the number 1 contender to fight for Valentina's title. But Valentina Shevchenko is by far and away the best fighter in her weight class. There's nobody that comes even close, and that's why Valentina hasn't even fought, yet we're talking about her facing Amanda Nunes for the 3rd time. Valentina Shevchenko is going to have her way in this fight. It's not going to be close. Lauren Murphy, props to her for getting this far, but this is where the buck ends. The Cinderella story ends here. You're not going any further. Valentina Shevchenko, if she wants to end it in the first round, she can end it in the first round. If she wants to toy around with Lauren Murphy and make it go a couple rounds, then she can do whatever she wants. Valentina Shevchenko is the 2nd best female fighter in the UFC, and there is such a massive gap between these women champions and the contenders. There's no possible shot that Lauren Murphy could ever beat Valentina Shevchenko. I don't know when this is going to end. It really depends on when Valentina decides that she has had enough.
So I guess you would say that you're pretty certain that Valentina Shevchenko is going to win?
I'll bet everything I have on her.
That's fair enough. Las Vegas is with you here. And, we talked about Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz being a toss-up. This is anything but. Valentina Shevchenko comes in as a minus 1,250 odds-on favorite, and Lauren Murphy a plus 750 underdog. Las Vegas doesn't think this is going to be close. In fact, they don't even think it's going to go to the distance. If you're looking at betting on this fight, take Valentina Shevchenko in a parlay with something else because you're not going to make money on this specific fight. And finally, we have the main event of the evening, UFC 266, the headlining fight. Featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski taking on number 2 ranked Brian Ortega. This is sure to be one hell of a matchup. And we saw through the Ultimate Fighting Championship that these guys do not like each other. Nick, can you tell us a little bit about this fight and what we should expect?
Yeah, this is a fight that we've been waiting for a while. It's gotten pushed off once before, but these guys are fully ready, fully healthy to compete against each other in a very anticipated matchup. Brian Ortega, this has been a long time coming for him. He's had some setbacks in his career, but he has only had one loss to Max Holloway a couple of years ago. He has been on absolute tear. He's absolutely deserving of this opportunity, and I think he's ready to take advantage of it. Alexander Volkanovski has had a great run so far in the UFC, coming into the UFC in 2018, dominating his way to the top, and then beating Max Holloway in some very spicy decisions 2 times in a row. This is a big test for him. He's not facing Max Holloway for the first time as a defending champ. He's going to have to figure out a different way of stopping Brian Ortega, a very different fighter, a guy who can submit you on the ground or he can knock you out on his feet. It doesn't matter. Brian Ortega is one of the most versatile fighters that we have in the UFC, and it presents a very big problem for Alexander Volkanovski. I think this is where Brian Ortega is going to really use his wide stance to his advantage. He's going to really keep his distance and take his moments when he has them. He's not going to put himself in harm's way like Max Holloway has done in the past. I believe that Brian is going to learn from everything that Alexander Volkanovski has had to offer Max Holloway in those championship fights, and he's going to take a lot from that. He's going to know exactly when to pounce, when to hold back, and I think that he is one of the smarter fighters that we've seen. He's going to absolutely put everything he has on display in this fight. I can't wait to see Brian Ortega show Alexander Volkanovski exactly how it's done.
It's interesting because both of these fighters come into this with 1 loss each. So the tale of the tape tells you Alexander the Great Volkanovski, 22-1. He stands at 5'6", 145 pounds, 71.5-inch reach and a 36-inch leg reach. On the other side, you have Brian T. City Ortega, 15-1 with one no contest. He stands at 5'8", 145 pounds, 69-inch reach, and 39-inch leg reach. So his legs are definitely longer than Volkanovski's, but Volkanovski has the arm length reach advantage. So this is going to be one hell of a matchup. Both of these guys are absolutely incredible fighters. And when you take a look at kind of their records, you see that Alexander Volkanovski, 11 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He ends fights. This is a guy that does not really let it get to the judges. He wants to end it before it gets to that. And he is on a 19-fight win streak in the UFC. So this guy, he's no joke. I'm really excited for what Volkanovski can do. On the other side, Brian Ortega, 3 wins by knockout, 7 wins by submission. Again, another guy who likes to finish the fight. Not many decisions at the judges' table. And when you have two guys who don't really go to the judges' scorecards, you're going to be in for one hell of a fight. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath like we expected with Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler. I expect it again with Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. These guys do not like each other. They showed that on the show. They showed that in every press conference so far, and I'm looking forward to them settling it once and for all who is going to be the champion of this division.
Yeah, I mean, I love Brian Ortega in this one. I think that he offers a lot more than we've seen Max Holloway offer Alexander Volkanovski. And I think Volkanovski, he's been a great champion. He's fought a lot. He's very tough, and I have to give him credit for that. But to me, Brian Ortega has been the undeclared champion for a long time. He has been the guy at the top of the division and just hasn't had the opportunity. Now that he has the opportunity, I fully expect him to take advantage of it. I think that he is going to really put his wrestling to use. I think that he's really going to put his wrestling to use. I expect Brian Ortega to defeat Alexander Volkanovski by rear naked choke.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And for the first time today, Las Vegas is not on your side, as Alexander Volkanovski comes in as a minus 170 favorite, while Brian Ortega is plus 150. So also another fight that's close to a toss-up, but Las Vegas is saying that they are taking the champion over Brian Ortega. We shall see. I think that the 19-fight win streak that Volkanovski's on is definitely going to be something to watch out for, because he's going to look to preserve that. And when you take a look at these two guys, Volkanovski, Ortega, while they do end fights before it gets to the judges, Volkanovski, 52% knockout TKO, Brian Ortega, 47% submission. So that's kind of really where you're looking. It's either Ortega by submission or Volkanovski by knockout. Both of these guys are very strong and very agile. I expect that they're going to really work each other. And at the end of the day, I actually have Alexander Volkanovski coming out on top in this one. I think he is going to make it 20 of his last fights, all being victories. And listen, I'm excited to see what Volkanovski can do next, but I know Max Holloway is waiting for some possible revenge, and I know it'd be very tough, but I want to see that fight afterward. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of UFC 266. Let us know who you think is going to win from these 3 fights, and we look forward to watching it with you. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.